How's it going, everybody? Matchmaking is bad. At least that is what we hear all the time. From quite a lot of people, actually, from all different skill levels. Whether it's rep 10s that queue into rep 200s or really skilled players that have to face beginners. So the statement that matchmaking is bad does ring true to a certain degree, and I want to look at why today. But to do that, I need to speculate tons. Why? Because nobody outside of Ubisoft offices knows how matchmaking actually works. We don't know what parameters are used, when, and to what degree. So all I can really do is I create a couple of hypotheses and try to explain why matchmaking is the way that it is. Once again, let me make this perfectly clear. It might be total nonsense what I'm about to tell you, but it is what makes sense to me personally. So don't go running around saying Free said that matchmaking works in this very specific manner. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start then. As many of you know, I am a proponent of skill-based matchmaking. I think the benefits of it far outweigh the negatives and it leads to far more enjoyable matches overall. But we're not going into that debate today, we've done that already in the past. What interests us today is how the game approaches and measures said skill. Many games call it ELO, others call it MMR. Whatever term you use, what it boils down to is that there is a number that quantifies your skill. Whether it goes by KD, win rate, in-game score, number of game awards used in a match, we don't know, and no company will ever fully reveal how it works exactly. Or you'll end up with a debacle like Dead by Daylight where the players concluded that the devs don't know how it works either. At least after listening to their weird ass explanations. Especially in games that involve teams with multiple members, which makes the whole thing much harder compared to 1v1 games like fighting games or RTS games. Regardless of all the details, we do know that this number must exist somewhere, and it'll be used as a means of matching players. While For Honor might use reps as an additional means, we know it's only a minor part in measuring a person's skill. High reps don't make a great player, and someone with a low rep isn't necessarily a chump. So we're going to focus on the skill rating. For the sake of it, let's assign it a range from 0 to 10,000. That's roughly similar to what you see in StarCraft 2 at the moment, a game that openly displays that number. 8,000 to 10,000 is pretty much unreachable, and the very top of players is in the mid 7,000s. Be that for the lack of people to match up with or the huge point losses. No need really to make any more distinctions here now, you get the idea. It's just an easy scale to remember, so we're going to use it for my examples here. Now, with a duel, it's pretty easy to match people. You have two players with a 5k rating, so let's match them up together. But for team modes, it now gets a lot more complicated. So we have two different approaches that I can see here. Let's take the 5k rating again. Ideally, we'd have 8 players with that rating, and thus we'd balance the teams by individual player and thus automatically have a balanced rating for both teams. In a Dominion game, both teams would roughly sport a rating of 20k. The other way of matching players together is by taking that 20k and then fill both teams to roughly get that number. And since I'm pretty sure this is how the game currently does it, as it explains our gripes pretty well, I guess the system can do this dynamically when it fills up a lobby. So let's break it down in an example. We have one team that queues together a lot and their skill rating is more or less the same. So we're looking at a rating of, let's say, 3,000 per person and a team rating of 12k. Now on the other side we have a bunch of solo queuers, a top player with a rating of 7,500, and then the game needs to balance out that discrepancy and puts in a bunch of much worse players. Let's just say 1250, 1750 and 1500. I'm aware that this is an extreme example, but if you ever watched a high level streamer queue solo, or if you yourself are a high level and then look at your teammates, this certainly does make sense. Basics that you'd expect from a player in your lobby are completely absent, and it is more than obvious that your teammate is on a different level skill-wise. Let me give you another example that would fit that matchmaking process. It's when you have a high MMR stack, let's say 4 players all in the 7,000 region. Finding players to match that stack is quite hard, so the game theoretically only has one option: find other high MMR gamers to fill the lobby. which quite frankly does happen. It's mostly other stacks, because it is quite rare for players of that caliber to queue solo, since it results in the first scenario that I've laid out quite often. But it certainly does happen that these lobbies fill up with top MMR gamers, simply because the system has no other choice, like I've explained just a minute ago. The other sad reality is that the game somehow picks a stack from the other end of the spectrum, and then you have a 28k rated team fight one with 5k combined rating. But yeah, this is how I think the matchmaking works and why we have the problems that many people complain about. The game balances per team rating and not individual rating. One of the main reasons for this might once again be matchmaking speed. You can't always immediately find the perfect match for each lobby. We also have teams queuing into solo players. Does the team get an MMR bonus, rating it higher because of the theoretical advantage of communication? But maybe the gamers aren't in voice comms. The game can't know, so applying some kind of malus or bonus isn't really feasible. What we also don't know are the thresholds that are applied when looking at who to fill a team with. With that, I mean the discrepancy between two players. How far apart can they be in terms of numbers? 1,000? 2,000? At what point does the whole premise become nonsense, and no matter how much you call it skill-based matchmaking, the whole thing just falls flat on its face? But yeah, like I said, all of this is just speculation on my part. Whether it makes sense for you guys as well is up for debate. Feel free to share your thoughts on this. I don't think there's much to argue when we say that the system definitely has its flaws. There's always been the balance between queue times and match quality that needs to be considered, and then we haven't even touched the system itself. Ideally, we'd all have nearly instant queues and teammates and opponents of equal skill. But that's simply impossible, as it would require millions of players to have that granularity in skill level, and even the huge battle royale shooters test their skill-based matchmaking. It always ends in small disasters because not everybody actually wants to have balanced matches. Not everybody will perform the same in every lobby. We're not machines, and tons of other factors play a role and dictate how well or how badly we play in a match. No number, no algorithm can compensate for all that. Still, I do think our matchmaking does need some work, and Ubisoft does say that they keep improving it, but we don't always feel the benefit of it. Like I said in the beginning, this is all speculation, and I doubt they will ever reveal how it works, nor do they really want our armchair input on all of it. We just have to live with somewhat unbalanced matches as long as we want to queue with teams into solo people, and sometimes stacks that vastly differ in power level. Feel free to share your matchmaking horror stories down below or on Discord. Maybe others find enjoyment in your suffering. Who knows? Having said all that, I hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody.
71? Yeah, sure, bro. No cap. That's facts. What was
Yeah,
that
actually
thing?
play on 85 field of view and not 90 because 90 is too much fisheye.
Oh no,
Very well,
hold
then.
on, hold on.
Oh, there.
I don't know, it could be immortal.
The bot is on. Bot's
The
on
bot-
A.
What, no? Okay, you're gonna lose.
Is it all bots? Are they all rage quit?
Who's down by the ledge? Ah, no, I can't throw the fuck.
Yeah, the one will go rage I put her on the long execution.
Yeah, man,
And
I need to
the
get
last
back
one
to
rage
the
quits
game.
too. I don't want to steal anyways.